Our next one is toxic job perspective.
Struggle in toxic workplaces. They strip you of your autonomy and
Let's start over. Hold on.
workplace that sets you up to fail. A toxic workplace will always undermine your ability to perform and grow.
So, first point, he said, toxic workplace will always undermine your ability to perform or grow. What I will say is, ever, don't ever depend on a job to give you validation for anything. You have to be self aware of what you're doing. You have to be self aware of your growth, self aware of when it's time to venture and see what else is out there. Is all predicated on you. You are a business.
Always business,
You are a business.
never personal.
Don't ever allow a job to or some people. You have to know where you're at all times. You have to. And before we get into this, I will ask anybody in the comments, when you're dealing with other humans, has there ever been a time where you worked at a job and it wasn't toxic unless you own the job or own a company or something? But if you work for any company, there are gonna be some toxic days. You just have to survive those days and get through them. I always tell people when they go into a field, I say if somebody want to be a plumber, can you handle or do the research and find out what's the worst day of a plumber? And if you can handle the worst day, more than likely you can handle the rest of the days. Let's keep listening.
I remember when I was a CCO and another executive proposed that they should be able to dictate what the marketing goals are and how to achieve them. This was clearly problematic because it puts someone without marketing expertise in charge of decisions that they're not equipped to make.
Guess what? I know this sounds pretty crazy, but maybe it sounds toxic. When you're in a toxic environment, you gotta do toxic things sometimes. Not saying it's the right thing to do, but it's about surviving the job. Guess what? One of the biggest mistakes people make sometimes, I've seen this happen a lot, is being worried about what another person is doing or another person's position. When he said that this person clearly don't have the expertise for the mark, guess what? Is that your job? No. They have to deal with that. But some people they can't get past that another person got a job because they had the connections or they had the network or they knew the right person. That's why they got the job. Some people can't get past it. Guess what? It's reality. It's called the real world. Um, and you cannot worry about what another person is doing in their position. You have to worry about you. Like it's like playing basketball, man. Your stats, your experience, your value, you have to be aware of that. Worrying about what another person got going on, not great, especially in a toxic workplace.
So I asked, who's accountable for the results? And when everyone looked at me, I knew that this was the beginning of the end.
Another thing about a toxic workplace is a lot of times, especially on top, a lot of people don't like to take accountability or they'll take the good part of it, but they don't take the bad part of it. And asking somebody that, yes, you can cause attention on your job because it's almost like you're coming off like sarcastic or stoic or troublesome. Like you're trying to. I mean, he has every right to do that. He do. But what I'm saying is, you have to be able to work at a job and solely focus on your task and what you do. You can understand how other people do their jobs, understand the psychology of another person, but I'm not so caught up in it that it's going to affect what I'm doing and how I operate.
Listen, control without responsibility is tyranny, and it's why good employees struggle in toxic workplaces.
So, um, a lot of times when you look at like top management at jobs that I've been at in the past, A lot of times the managers or CTOs and stuff like that, uh, they don't understand, or they not really, they may understand, but they're so separated from it by the degrees of separation. They don't understand what the people are going through on the front lines, because they're in the backside where the generals at. They don't understand what's in the trenches. They don't get it because they've been out of the trenches too long. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying sometimes the good leaders understand and they fight for their people in the trenches, and some that don't. But what I'm saying is, if you're in a place where you feel like it's toxic or they're not doing it, you have to find a way to make it work for you until you can find something better. Some places you may need to work there to get the experience, but don't make it your end all be all. You have to have a strategy. You have to know, why am I working here? Why am I taking this job? And what's the strategy after I take this job?
They strip you of your autonomy and then hold you accountable for outcomes they won't let you influence. But
So if they get to this point where they try to strip stuff away from you, they try to hold you accountable for things you didn't do. This is the point where you have to make sure that your resume is always updated. Anything you do on the job, how can I parlay this? How can I articulate this on a resume? Especially when they give you those special projects, especially in IT. You're a help desk guy, but they let you work on the server. Guess what? You can put some of that on your resume now. You have to always plan for an exit. Either you're gonna leave or they're gonna ask you to leave. No job is always gonna have you working there. You have to always kind of think about that. Not from a negative place, but if you think about it and stay positive about it and stay prepared, you'll never get caught off guard. It's gonna be hard to get caught off guard, because I'm telling you, I haven't seen a place that wasn't toxic at all. That's impossible when you're dealing with other humans. The only jobs that I see that ain't toxic, unless you got a job to where it's just you and the computer, you working on the computer, and you only deal with people when you have to. But otherwise than that, most jobs are toxic. Even if you own a business, you still have to deal with people and customers. And guess what? All customers are not great either. Some of them are toxic too.
when things go wrong, they blame you. Good employees in toxic workplaces have two choices. Number one, conform to mediocrity and dysfunction. Or two, create an exit strategy to find a workplace that shares their passion for excellence and health. A toxic workplace will break you before you change it.
That's a cap.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Toxic workplaces won't break you unless you allow it to break you. They won't break you. You have to understand what you're dealing with. You have to have the awareness.
It's always business, never personal.
You got to understand that it's a business. It's not personal. But if you go into a job making it personal, then maybe you'll get broken. But if you understand that that job is a business, you are a business. If they put you in bad positions, can you get out of the bad position? Sometimes you gotta. It's like a chess game. You gotta know how to play the chess game with these people, the psychology chess game. Sometimes I've been put in some crazy positions, but what happened was I got myself out of it. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to fail. You can't be afraid to fail. When you start working in the corporate world, you come an adult. People who are afraid to fail, this is just my opinion, they don't really live that much because they're afraid to fail. So they're always moving on eggshells. They're always kind of got that what am I trying to say? They never really experience life because they're always worried about the perception, worried about failure. And I'm saying, when you understand how life works, especially even with toxic jobs, there will be times of failure. I mean, some, like you said, sometimes some jobs set you up to fail, but you have to understand that. And even in that, you set your resume up articulate your skills, and if something happens, you can move on to something else. But don't think
So
that
stop
you're gonna
asking
ever.
yourself, how do I succeed? And start asking, how do I leave?
So here's the thing, right? About leaving. You can leave that and go right to another place, and it's a different kind of toxic. Every job will have its problems. It's all about what problems are you willing to deal with. Unless you about to own a company, and then you got to deal with customers. Because I don't know if you heard, but dealing in business, there are some customers that's just as worse as working with somebody. So you got to think about all of that. But you can navigate a toxic job. Most jobs not even gonna tell you, hey, before you work here, we gotta let you know that we toxic. They're not gonna tell you that. That's something you're gonna figure out when you work there. But you can navigate. I'm telling you from experience, you can navigate it. It's not the end of the world. All you need is just get the experience of working, articulate on your resume, get to a place where it's less toxic. And I'll tell you this, the more of a job, a specific skill job that you get, the less toxic it will be, because you're dealing with people that do specific things. And a lot of times when you get a job where people do specific things, they only talk to you when they need that specific thing, and they stay in their specific lane and you stay in your specific lane. But when you work at the regular jobs like retail, warehousing, stuff like that, all the jobs kind of overlap. You have to deal with people, and everybody that you deal with is not going to be great. It's just the world dealing with another human. No two humans think the same. No two humans act alike. But you have to learn how to be cordial.
Always
Understand it's a
business.
business.
Never personal.